Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to give you what I consider to be the 5 best tips related to speaking, how to improve your speaking. Now I'm going to divide this video into 2 types of tips. The first 2 tips are related to the physical aspect of speaking. So as you're speaking in English, what can you do to really improve the impact that your speaking has and make the speaking process easier itself? And then the other 3 ones will be related to fluency practice. Well, I'll come to that later. So we got 2 tips about what you can do as you're speaking in English to help you feel more comfortable and to help improve the impact that you'll have on the people listening to you. And then we'll look at 3 fluency tips after. So the first thing is, it's really simple. Now, the cool thing about these is that they're really simple. It's something that I do, or I did at least when I was learning Spanish, and it really, really helped me. So the first thing you're going to do as you're speaking in English, and this really helps, is I want you to speak 5% more slowly. Now, what do I mean by 5%? 5% is a random number that I invented. What does it mean? It means a little bit slower, okay? Just a little bit more slowly. And what that will do is it has a really cool effect, which is it gives you just a tiny bit more time to think about what it is that you're saying and make corrections of potential mistakes that you would have otherwise made had you been speaking at your normal speed. And it just has a much better impact. So often what happens is when you're speaking, you're a little bit nervous. When you speak, particularly when you're speaking another language, you get a little bit nervous and you actually speak more quickly than you should. And also at the same time, you're considering the impact that what you're saying is having on the people that are listening to you. So you're more concerned about what others are thinking of you than thinking about what you're saying and having a normal social interaction. What happens? You make loads of mistakes. You feel very uncomfortable. So what you're essentially doing by speaking 5% a little bit more slowly is that you're basically reducing that nervous speed down to your normal speaking speed. Or if you're speaking at normal speed, you're turning it down a little bit more, which gives you just a little bit more time to reduce the number of mistakes that you make. Now, I know this for a fact that because I do this with my students, when my students speak a little bit more slowly, they make half of the mistakes that they would normally make. So there's still mistakes, but that's fine. Every mistake that you make is going to be an opportunity to learn. That's fantastic. That's not a problem, but they halve the number of mistakes that they make, which is a huge reduction. And it also allows them to really think more carefully about what they're saying, maybe consider saying it or expressing what they want to say in a more elaborate way. So it helps in all senses. So just speak a little bit more slowly. It doesn't need to be dramatic. Now, every time I say this, people always say, oh no, because then I'll sound stupid. It will sound like I'm speaking really slowly, like I don't know how to speak. That's not the case. 5%, a little bit, is unnoticeable to other people. They do not notice it. You will notice it because it's a tiny bit lower than your normal speaking speed, but other people do not notice it. So don't worry about that. You won't give off that image at all to the people listening to you. Tiny bit more slowly, you get rid of half the mistakes. Well, you don't get rid of them. You avoid making half the number of mistakes that you would normally make. So speak more slowly. The second one is avoid filler. Now, you see what I just did there? I paused, silence, again, silence. As I speak, as native speakers speak, we're very comfortable having a very short moment of silence as we speak. A lot of other languages, or speakers of other languages, they put sounds in between, not necessarily words, but between sentences, between ideas. They'll connect them with a sound like like each language has their own particular sound. It's normally a vowel sound, an open vowel sound. And what it's doing, it serves an important function in those languages. Essentially, you're communicating to the person that you're speaking to, I haven't finished speaking, I'm still going to continue my idea. But in English, we typically don't do that. I mean, you will hear filler sometimes, things like, well, things like that. It's true that we often use words like, well, yes, things like that. But it's normally to communicate that we're thinking about, I'm carefully considering what I'm going to say before I say it. That's really what it is. But when you're speaking in normal conversation, it's really not quite normal. Now, why do I say that? It's quite distracting to hear this. And I know it's going to take a long, long time for you to remove this, but conscious effort will help a lot. But it takes time because this is something that you've done. Now, it's true that not all languages use filler. But if you're listening to me and you're thinking, yeah, I do that. I do that when I speak in English. Then this is it's going to be very, very helpful for you, because talking about the impact that you have, there's a drastic difference. Silence is powerful. Silence is very, very good. It's not going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. It's a moment, but it has a strong impact. And the opposite is that constantly hearing sounds like it's very tiring for native speakers to hear this. So really try and avoid that. Now, it will take a lot of time, and it won't be something that you'll be able to do in social interaction, because in social interaction, you've been doing this your entire life. It's part of how you speak. It really does take a very long time to remove this. So the best way to practice this is speaking out loud on your own. The good thing about speaking out loud on your own is that you remove the other half of the social interaction. It's just you. So you're not going to have the pressure of the social interaction, and you'll be able to carefully think about what you're saying. Every time you feel that you're going to say whatever sound you use as filler in your language, silence. Half a second, that's all. Then continue. Slowly, and it will take time, you'll be able to remove this. Even if you don't completely get rid of all the filler that you use, you will reduce it substantially, and that will have a very good impact as well. Now, this is particularly true in business, meetings, presentations, public speaking. The last thing you want to do is be filling each gap with it's very tiring for the audience. So please do this. It will really, really help you as you're speaking, but it will take time. All right, but give it a go, and you'll notice a big difference, and you'll feel much more comfortable. And as you get rid of that, you'll start to feel much more confident, because there's something about silence that has a certain amount of power. It really is powerful. There's something really good about it. Don't be scared of silence. Embrace it. Good. So let's get on to the 3 fluency tips. Now, I've told you 2 things that you can do as you're speaking in English, but now I want to give you 3 tips that you can do to actually improve your fluency. Now, people think that fluency and speaking are the same thing. They're not. Speaking is just the physical act of producing words with your mouth. That's all speaking is. What's fluency? Fluency is how easy it is for you to produce those words using your mouth. That's all it is. Now, fluency is level independent. What do I mean by that? You can be a very, very fluent B1, A2, which means that you don't have a substantial amount of English in your head, but the English that you do know, you can say it very, very easily. So you're a fluent B1. But you can also be C1 or C2 with very, very low fluency. Now, I've met these people, and it's a real shame. They've got on paper perfect English. They can read everything, understand everything, listen to everything, perfect, fantastic. They can write, articles, whatever. But when it comes to speaking, the words don't come out. They make mistakes, and it's really, really strange. Well, it's not strange, but it's just to put the importance on the fact that fluency is level independent. So what you're aiming to get is fluency at the level that you're currently at. So again, as I said, fluency is just how easy it is for you to produce the English that you already know. And you always want to improve this. The great news about fluency is that it's very quick to improve. In fact, it's the fastest thing to improve in English. It's faster to learn and faster to master, compared with any of the other skills. The bad news is, if you don't practice it, you lose it very quickly. So it's easy to get it, quick to get it, but if you don't practice it, and really you do have to practice it every day, after a couple of days, you will feel a bit slower, you're translating more, you're making more mistakes, you have to think more as you're speaking in English. So it really is something, a little bit, very, very often is the best thing that you can do to improve your fluency. So the 3 best exercises to improve your fluency in English or in any language, but here we're looking at English, are, the first one is the easiest. The first one is reading out loud. This is so easy because you don't need anybody. In fact, all of these tips I'm going to give you with Fluency, they're practice exercises that you can do on your own. You do not need another person to do them, because if you're depending on other people in order to practice fluency, well, maybe you only have contact with people that will speak English with you once a week. That's not enough. So you do have to find ways to improve your fluency on your own. And this is what these 3 tips are. So reading out loud, what do? 5 minutes, take some text. It doesn't matter what it is. It really doesn't matter. It could be a script from a series or a film. It can be a boring work email. It could be your favorite book. It could be a magazine. It doesn't matter. Any kind of text in English, and read it out loud. Don't worry about pronunciation. That's not what we're practicing here. Here we're practicing fluency, which is how easy it is to produce the words and sounds in English. And this is why speaking out loud is very good. Sorry, reading out loud is very good, because what you're reading is going to be correct English. It's going to be correct. All you're practicing is the physicality of producing the words that are written. So really, it really is a physical thing. And it's, putting the tongue in the correct position, because the way that your tongue moves and your mouth moves in your own language is probably very different. So it's really practicing and reinforcing the physicality of producing English words. So take any text, read it out loud for 5 minutes. If you stumble or trip up or mispronounce something, read that sentence again until it comes out easily. Read for 5 minutes. When the 5 minutes are finished, close the book, and that's it. Continue your day. It's the easiest thing that you can do to practice fluency. Super easy. It's 5 minutes. 5 minutes is perfect. If you want to do 10 minutes, that's fine. You don't need to do more than that. And do that every day. Super simple, super accessible, and incredible results. When you do this every day, you really will feel a difference. You'll notice a difference very quickly from this. After a few days, you'll start to feel that you can produce English sounds and words much more easily. So read out loud. Do it every day, 5 minutes. It's all you need. Super easy. The next one is, these are related to speaking out loud. So the next 2 tips are about speaking out loud. And the first one is going to be what I call general observation. General observation is an interesting fluency practice exercise, but it's a good way to find and learn new vocabulary. So what you do is you imagine you're in your kitchen and you say, okay, I'm going to do general observation fluency practice in English. You just look at what you can see in your kitchen and say every word that corresponds with everything that you can see in your kitchen. Okay, you've got the tiles on the wall, there's a cooker there, a pan on the cooker, you've got the grill, and you've got the toaster, and you've got the fridge, the freezer, the microwave, the oven, any of the objects that you can see there. So just say them as quickly as you can. You're practicing memory, you're practicing fluency, and you'll probably find new words to learn. So there may be some things in the kitchen that you don't know the English word for. Write them down, but don't look them up yet in a dictionary. Just write them down and continue the fluency practice. After the fluency practice, find and learn the words that you didn't know. So as you're doing fluency practice, you don't want anything to disturb you. When you're doing fluency practice, you're doing fluency practice. Grammar, pronunciation, and new vocabulary is secondary. That's a separate exercise. All right. So don't let anything disturb or interrupt your fluency practice. You need to look for words, look for them after. All right. And then what you can do, so that's just individual vocabulary. Then you can start to create sentences with them. So what did I do for breakfast? Well, I woke up, I made a coffee, I got the coffee. What did you do with it? I poured it into a cup. Then I added milk. Then I put it in the microwave. I turned on the microwave for 3 minutes. Well, 3 minutes is quite a hot coffee, actually. 2 minutes, whatever. I took it out. I sat down in the living room and I drank my cup of coffee while reading the newspaper. Whatever. You're just talking. This is more like just general brain activity. You're talking through real events with really basic but really essential vocabulary. Things like pour in, pick up, put in the microwave, take out, sit down. This is really important vocabulary. But as you're doing this, you probably won't realize how much you know and also how much you don't know. Because often what is the case is that as we've become adults, we're obsessed with maybe more business vocabulary, advanced vocabulary, and we forget the basic stuff like name all the objects that are in your kitchen. Can you do it? If you can't, then you probably need to study basic vocabulary again. So that was just a simple example of when you're in your kitchen, but it could be anything. You're driving to work, you're talking about the traffic, or you can say, oh my word, there are lots of cars on the road today. I wonder why that is. It's because it's Monday. There's always a lot of traffic on Mondays. This is obviously rush hour. I hope I won't get to the office late. I have a meeting at 9 o'clock and I need to impress my boss with the new results, whatever. You're just talking about general observation, and you'll see that the conversation will progress into other things like what you first got to do at work at 9 o'clock. It doesn't matter. Just observe the world around you and talk about it and relate to it and invent sentences and just talk. And again, if there's words and phrases that you don't know, write them down and look for them after. Look them up in the dictionary, on Google, it doesn't matter. And then learn that, and that's great. So the last tip is an imaginary conversation. So it's really important with all of these fluency practice, you do have to do it out loud. Of course, if you don't do it out loud, you're not practicing fluency. Again, fluency is the physicality of producing English words and sentences with your mouth, obviously. So in your head, it doesn't count. So the last one is imaginary conversation. What you do is you have an imaginary conversation with somebody. Now you can invent what the other person is going to answer. That's okay. It doesn't matter. It's more about what you're going to say. So the interesting thing about this is that you can talk about whatever you want. You can talk about whatever you want. So you can be a little bit selfish and not have to consider the person that you're speaking to or their opinions or anything. So again, what conversation topic should you use? Anything, it doesn't matter, but it needs to be relevant for you. So if you hate football, for example, well, don't have an imaginary conversation about last night's football match, because if you don't like football, you're not going to talk about it and it's not relevant for you. So choose something, but if you do love football, well, choose that. Talk about last night's match. Did you see the match last night? Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. I can't believe the last goal in the last minute. It was amazing, whatever. And you just talk about this and have an imaginary conversation. Now, you will feel strange in the beginning. That's totally normal, but you're alone. It's not like you're going to be doing this sitting on the underground or on a train or something. You're going to be alone. In a car is a good place to do this as you're driving to work, or as you're pottering around the house in the morning or in the afternoon, wherever. It doesn't matter, but somewhere, a time when you're on your own, and just have an imaginary conversation. It will feel strange in the beginning, but you'll quickly get used to it, and that feeling will just disappear, because it's essentially what you're already doing anyway. So when you're in your house washing up, for example, you're kind of having a conversation in your head anyway. All you have to do is vocalize that voice that's in your head, vocalize those thoughts that you're having, and that's all you have to do. So if you feel strange in the beginning, it's only because you can hear your own voice, and you probably never hear your own voice when you're on your own, speaking for any kind of extended period of time. So it will feel strange, but that's okay. And if it doesn't feel strange, amazing. Just continue. So let's have a look at these 3 fluency practice exercises again. So reading out loud, the easiest, the most accessible, and the one that will really give you results quite quickly. Then we got the second one, general observation. And then we got the third one, imaginary conversation. Now, what did I mention about fluency before? You do have to do fluency, preferably every day. If you do it every day, in 1 week, you're going to notice a massive difference. It's only 5 minutes. You really don't need to do these for a long time. So people often think, I want to practice my speaking, but I need an hour and I need to go to a language school or something. No, there's a million different things that you can do on your own to practice fluency. So there's no excuse, and you really don't need a lot of time. Seriously, 5 minutes, once or twice a day, while you're doing something else, like having a shower or driving or making breakfast. There's really no excuse not to do this. They're so accessible, it's unbelievable. And it just surprises me all the time how few people do this. But I guarantee every single person that does this, in 1 week, they come back and they say, Adam, that's amazing. So try it, leave it in the comments. Let me know how you get on. Also write in the comments the kind of feelings that you had from doing these exercises. So try them out. Let me know how you feel. And if you've got any questions or doubts about anything, please in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer anything you've got. And of course, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. See you next time. Bye-bye.